Captain Marvel has destroyed the MCU forever. Let's talk about it. Captain Marvel stars Brie Larson, Samuel L. Jackson, and is directed by Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck. Well, what's up, guys? It's been a crazy couple days, crazy last month, all because of Captain Marvel, and I had a back injury. So we're going to discuss all that. Captain Marvel causes back injuries. Not really, though. Captain Marvel didn't cause my back injury. I guess I caused my back injury. But we'll talk about the back injury after the review, okay? But yeah, I've been in a lot of pain for the past couple of days. So I went to see this movie probably at the worst of it. And I remember just sitting in the chair and never being comfortable the whole time. It was brutal. But I wanted to go see this movie opening night. And so I did. And you know what? First off, let's talk about controversy, okay? Let's talk about, and I wasn't even going to bring this up in the review, but you know what? I think it needs to be stated. And this will be a spoiler review too, by the way. But you know, this whole Brie Larson thing and this controversy, to me, when I look at movies, I don't look for strong women, strong men, strong aliens. I look for just awesome characters. That's really what I look for. I don't really go to movies for any special purpose. I want to be entertained. That's it. I know a lot of negative press has went towards Brie Larson. And you know what? I think people say stupid things sometimes. And when you have a million cameras in your face, you know, all it takes is one slip up. And I don't know Brie Larson. I don't know what was in her mind. I don't know if she really hates white dudes. I don't. So I'm not going to blame her for that. I went into this movie just looking for a good time. That's all I did. You know, I tried to keep that stuff out of my head. You know, the feminism. I know that word, some people get triggered by the word feminism. But I love strong women in movies. Like I said, I love strong characters in movies. And, you know, we're going to talk about some strong characters along the way. You might hear me say the word Alita from time to time. Because that movie, that was my last review, actually, new release review. And it's hard not to compare this movie to Alita when you're watching it. It's just because of the timing. But we'll get into all that. But really, it's a quick plot synopsis on this one. Brie Larson plays Carol Danvers. And it's an interesting plot structure because for like the first, 10, 15 minutes, you really don't know what's going on. She doesn't really know what's going on. You see all these flashbacks. And, you're trying to figure out who this character is. Was she human? Was she an alien? It kind of presents itself as like she's an alien. I'd say like the first half of the movie. And then there's that big reveal in the end that she was a human who ended up becoming the new Captain Marvel. There was a Captain Marvel played by Annette Bening. But really, yeah, this is an origin story. She doesn't remember her previous life. There's a point in time where she is Veers, that's what they call her, and so she thinks she's part of this Kree civilization. She thinks she's Kree. But when the movie really picks up is when she falls to Earth. She is captured by these guys called the Skrulls, and that's kind of our villain, at least we think it's our villain at the beginning of the movie, and they're capturing her, they're trying to extract her memories, and then she breaks free and she gets to Earth with the Skrulls. So this is where she meets up with Samuel L. Jackson. Guys, I will say the first 20 minutes of this movie I was really invested in. I liked a lot of what was going on. I liked those 90s references. I do like movies that are set in different time periods like the 80s, like the 90s, because, let's face it, it's nostalgia. It takes you back. And that's what it did for me. I really enjoyed those first 20 minutes. I was having a blast with it, actually. And it is really fun, just to jump over to Samuel L. Jackson, it's fun to see Nick Fury, his beginnings, how he really started getting into this whole S.H.I.E.L.D. thing. The Kree and the Skrulls was really his first entry into S.H.I.E.L.D. and taking on cases outside of our world. All these intergalactic problems, threats that we have for the planet Earth. Or in this movie, they call it C-93. And also you get to see Coulson, a young Coulson. This is one of my problems with the movie. Usually Marvel nails the CGI, because you see CGI in these individual movies from time to time, like they did with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 with Kurt Russell. For Coulson, for some reason, he looked really digital. He looked like a game character. Not so much Samuel L. Jackson. They did a great job with his. As a matter of fact, half the time I couldn't tell if it was CGI on Samuel L. Jackson or if that was his real face. But Samuel L. Jackson is great in this. I will say that. I had a good time with his character. I do have a major problem with the way he gets his eye injury, though. Now, first off, let's talk about Brie Larson. You know, she is Captain Marvel. Does she live up to the role? I'd say, yeah, sort of. I don't think she's amazing. She does have a lot of the same facial expressions. No, she doesn't completely frown through the whole movie like a lot of people were saying beforehand. But, I think I could have used a little bit more variety in her character. And I think she was serviceable. I think she's okay. I don't have a problem with her showing up in Endgame. Having her defeat Thanos, has she earned that yet? Because all these other characters have worked so hard to get to this point. So that might bother me, Not because it's a woman, but just because it's a character issue for me. She hasn't really earned that yet. Honestly, I want to see the Hulk get revenge on Thanos if I'm being honest. And, on Twitter yesterday, I was in a Hulk love fest. And, I'm always defending The Incredible Hulk. I love that movie so much. And it's one of those movies that every time I see a ranking, it's always near the bottom. And I think that's because it's just so different. And a lot of you guys didn't grow up with the television show like I did. So, I know I'm veering off into The Incredible Hulk. But I want to see the Hulk take on Thanos. I really do. But as far as feminism in movies, I think Alita did it much better. Because Alita, it was a gradual thing throughout the story. She had such a great character arc. She started out as nothing and ended up being this amazing, invincible character almost. Whereas in this movie, really Captain Marvel is a great example of doing it wrong, in my opinion. And not completely wrong, but there are a couple moments in the movie where you were following her story, and then all of a sudden there would be like a moment in the movie where it would be like, strong women are cool, something would pop up and they'd have to remind the audience that, hey, this is a badass woman right here. You need to acknowledge this. You don't have to do that. Take Sarah Connor from The Terminator. Not once do they ever stop for a moment and say, hey, look how great Sarah Connor is. No, it was more of a gradual thing. There was a natural progression to it. Same thing with Alita. Same thing with the bride in Kill Bill. I could go on and on and on and on. Even Wonder Woman is a great example, actually. Don't get me wrong. I love strong women in movies. I really do. I get excited about it. But I don't feel that Captain Marvel really earned it. And maybe that's because I'm comparing it to other strong characters in movies. I'm not saying strong women, strong characters. As far as a character goes, I think she's awesome. I do. But I do have problems with the way she's portrayed in the movie. Also, at the end, when she unleashes her, I guess it's like supreme power, supreme being or whatever. I saw the movie one time, guys, okay? Don't kill me. I don't know the comics. But I don't think she earned that moment. And if I compare it to something, I would compare it to like what happened with The Matrix. Neo went through this whole ordeal in that movie, discovering himself, figuring out who he was. And so when he finally realizes that he is the one, that iconic scene where Morpheus goes, he's the one. It was earned. When he fully unleashes his full potential, it is one of the most awe-inspiring things, and they didn't have to go crazy. It was just a quick little scene to let the audience know, yeah, he's the one. But in this, when she unleashes her full strength, then we just go back into another regular fight. There wasn't that crescendo there, like in movies like The Matrix. I think movies, especially action movies, have to have a rhythm to them. And to me, the rhythm was kind of off in Captain Marvel. It was kind of all over the place. Kind of like I am in this review. But overall, it's a fine movie. It's okay. There's nothing horrible about it. I let it sit for a couple of days before I did the review, just because I wanted to give it a fair review. But I did walk out of the movie kind of like, okay. And I think one of the big things was the middle ground of the movie. It kind of dragged for me, kind of like Age of Ultron did. There was a middle section of the movie, and you could call that character building, you can call it all you want. But at the end of the day, am I interested or am I bored? And I kind of got bored. Now let's jump over to the Skrulls. Ben Mendelsohn, I just brought him up in a recent review that I did, and how he kind of plays the same character with every movie. It was Rogue One. Yeah, it was my Rogue One review. Ben Mendelsohn really earned his keep in this one, I think. He was supposed to be the villain for at least the first half of the movie. Then we find out that it switched. He's just trying to save his people, and he's actually the good guy of the movie. I really liked him in this, actually. He had some variety to him, whereas, you know, his previous characters that he played, he's really one note. Good actor, but he pretty much would do the same thing. So in this one, he had some funny moments in there. Now, my biggest problem with the Skrulls, though, were even before we find out that they are not the threat, not the villain, I never really felt like, because they look kind of silly, they look like Star Trek villains. And you know what? Call it shallow, but for me, the visual is very important. Take the Joker. I know we always bring up the Joker, but Heath Ledger's Joker looks like a scary-ass dude, you know? And to me, you got to get me there. And they didn't get me there with the Skrulls. And then we find out that the Kree are actually the douchebags. And Ronan is, you know, part of this. And I guess we should have figured that out in the beginning of the movie when Ronan, because it looks like Ronan is kind of a good guy when he's actually not. So yeah, the Kree, they're just kind of power hungry. We've seen this so many times before. It's always about power. You know, it's always about control. And also, one of my complaints for this movie, and this might be because of my back injury, but when people are getting punched against mountains, there's a scene where Captain Marvel, she unleashes her power and she punches Jude Law up into this mountain. You know, and that was pretty much her way of saying, you're not going to be able to handle this punch. You know, this is how tough I am now. And so after the whole punch, what does he do? He just gets right up like it's nothing. That kind of took me out of it a little bit. And I know these are superhero characters that can take stuff like that, but why punch him against the mountain in the first place if you know he's going to get up? You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm getting at. And there's a scene where Nick Fury is in this fight in the middle of the movie, and he gets knocked up against this wall and he falls down. And again, the sore back in me was like, that dude would be freaking out for the count. There's no way. But, you know, that's stuff that you kind of have to take with a grain of salt in these types of movies anyway. So I'm definitely going to cut them some slack there. But overall, guys, I'm going to give this one just a humdrum. Just a straight up humdrum. It's not great. There are some nice, fun Marvel moments in there. But you could skip this movie and go right to Endgame. There's really nothing in this movie that you need to see before Endgame. Even that end credits scene, that's going to be an Endgame. So you really don't even need it. This was just a straight up origin story. That's fine. It's definitely not the worst of the MCU. I put it like right in the middle of the bunch, probably like number 10 somewhere of the 21. The beginning with Stan Lee, the intro, that was beautiful. Loved that. There was an MCU ultra fan that was sitting right next to me, and he was one of those, and I don't know how you guys feel about these people, but there's always that one fan at a DC movie, at a Marvel movie, and they have to be vocal throughout the whole movie to let the world know that I'm the MCU fanboy right here. Hey everybody, over here, MCU guy. There's always one of these guys at every MCU showing. Let me know in the comments if you had that at your showing too. It's just funny. It's just hilarious. But you know that these people, when they go into these movies, it could be the crappiest movie in the world and they're going to give it a 5 out of 5. They're going to love it no matter what because they just love it so much. Now also, if you're still here, my back injury, what happened was I was at work and I was climbing this ladder and then I took a wrong step and I felt like a pinch in my lower back. And then throughout the day, it just got worse and worse. And it got so bad that I had to go to the doctor. I couldn't even walk. It was like with those 90-year-old guys that you see walking with the, you know, all hunched over. That's the way I was. And I do have, you know, a history. When I was 17, I was in a car accident and I fractured my lower vertebrae in my back. And, you know, it's something that creeps up, you know, every few years it pops up. But this was like the worst since that event. So it kind of scared me, and I'm still kind of recouping from it. And I actually, I still can't stand straight. When I stand, my body is like leaning to the left just a little bit. So I'm getting there. Hopefully I'll be 100% over the next few days. But yeah, it was kind of scary. And a lot of you guys were super kind on social media telling me that, hey, I've had back problems. Back problems suck. It's the worst I freaking can't stand it. So yeah, that's my back injury. So I'll probably call this Captain Marvel causes back pain or something like that, just to be funny. Anyway, guys, post down in the comments your thoughts on Captain Marvel. Looking forward to hearing them. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day, and on Fridays we do Free For All Fridays. Follow me at Drumdums on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. If you like what I'm doing, hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and Drumdum out.